think most of us know that when it comes to water savings and irrigations, then I think that the turf people or the homeowners, lawn people, they get criticized in the first group because we fairly deserve that because we do not use the water most effectively. And here is an example of running sprinklers on a lawn that not been used effectively. So when it comes to irrigation in lawn, there are several factors to consider, and I will briefly touch upon these different things. So for example, the weather and season. So your yard does not need the water equally throughout the season in the same amount. Depending on the weather and season, the water demand varies, and you have to adjust that to effectively manage the irrigation water. And the simple thing is when it's hot and dry, it needs more water. It's cool and wet, it needs less water, but it's not as easy as said because everyone knows that but does not follow that. Timing. There's a specific time to avoid and a specific time, especially in the morning. That's when recommended to turn on the irrigations. We'll go that in detail in later in the presentations. Frequency, how often to irrigate the lawn. Again, the demand of your irrigations depends on soil properties. What kind of soil do you have? Is it heavy soil, light soil? The grass properties, what kind of grass you have, cool season versus warm seasons. It depends on the grass type. Genetically, some of them require more water and others require less water. Pressure of the irrigations. When you have a high pressures, then you're gonna do a lot of misting there. The wind's gonna blow that water and it's not very effective. A lot of wastage. If you have low pressure head, then it's not going to do much better again because you are putting large droplets and wasting water with low pressure. So just right pressure is required to do proper irrigations. Types of irrigations. What do you have? Again, I just asked that, right? More than 50% you do not have irrigations. That's totally fine. It just depends on what your objective and purpose is in maintaining yard. And others you have above ground or under or below ground sprinklers, and it depends what kind of irrigation you have and how do you run that to properly manage irrigations. Water quality. If your water has a lot of sodium especially and other dissolved solids or salts, then that's going to affect the quality of the grass as it builds up that salt in your soil profile, and it will be a lot challenging and difficult to leach out the salts once it builds up. So you need to know the quality of the water as well. So let's start with how to know when to start irrigations, right? We have talked about no mow May in last garden hour, and generally in the month of May, especially in this area like in Missouri, we don't need irrigations even with those short or 90-degree temperature in the early month of May for few days. At least we had, I think, 3 days. Even in that kind of conditions, we do not need to turn on irrigations because those short high temperatures not going to affect or damage your lawn. It's not going to deplete your soil moistures. So do not rush to start irrigations in the spring. Okay, but how do we exactly know when to turn on irrigations? Is as simple as walking on the lawn. And you can see in this picture when you walk on the lawn, and if you leave that kind of footprints on the lawn for several hours, then that's telling you that the moisture in the grass or the leaf blades is not enough and it needs water. And there could be two reasons for that. One, there is no enough water in the soil profile for the roots to harvest. Second, there is water, but there is no good roots to do that job. Okay, so if there is enough water in the soil profile, you cannot help by adding more water. Your roots are not developed well or not developed healthy to harvest that water. But if there is no water and you start watering, then your leaves gonna spring back quickly. It's gonna respond, and that's how you're gonna know if the grass is suffering from drought stress or not. In the initial stage of drying, we're gonna see purple or bluish cast on the turf canopy. But once it turns brown, that's slightly late in the timing of irrigations. Do not wait until your leaves turn brown. But if your lawn has adequate water or moisture, then when you walk on the lawn, you do not see those kind of footprints. It just springs back to its original shape. Now let's talk about the timing. We have all seen irrigations running in the nighttime, in the afternoon, or also when there is a rain or there's a forecast in the late evening. We have seen all those kinds of things. So the recommendation for irrigation timing is the early morning. Okay, after the sun comes out, or just before the sun comes out, until uh, before noon, we are good to go. But please avoid irrigations after the sun is down or in the late evening, even in the late afternoon. And the reason for that is, first of all, when you water in the evening, it's making your grass canopy wait for longer periods in the nighttime. It's gonna make your grass wait all night, and that will help build a good environment for your pathogens, for your disease pathogens. So early morning irrigations will help to knock off the dew that was developed overnight. It will knock off that dew, and the irrigation water will quickly dry once the sun comes out. And how frequently to water? We all say that deep irrigations and infrequent irrigations. And the purpose for that is to allow the water to travel deep down up to 6 inches. And the reason is, most of the turf grass, they develop roots between 4 and 6 inches in the profile. So you want to provide the soil water to that root zone so that it can develop vigorous roots down the soil profile. Okay, because remember that the turf, growing turf is all about growing roots. It's nothing. Once you grow good roots, then you will have good canopy or good grass. And also, do not avoid the temptations to start the irrigations again. Okay, once you irrigate, then wait until the soil is dry. You don't have to turn on the irrigations every day, every other day. Okay, 2 days, 3 days. So you have to wait, depending on the weather, season, your soil moisture conditions, how dry is the soil after you last irrigate or after your last precipitations, and then you turn on the water. And that's called infrequent irrigations. And the simple thing you can do is use a screwdriver or a soil probe and drill that thing on the yard and see how much soil moisture is in your soil profile. If it is too dry, then it's time to turn on the irrigations. If it has good moisture, then you should withhold irrigation. Now the question comes is, how much water do I really need on my yard? Okay, there are different factors that comes into play, but just for a fair estimate, these tables gives the fair estimates for this good sandy loam soil. And on the bottom, I have Georgia grass, which is a warm season grass. And of course, this is the most water efficient grass, as it requires only ½ inch of water per week. Okay. And then the cool season grass like tall fescue, it just needs 3/4 inch per week. Kentucky bluegrass needs 1¼ inch. Perennial ryegrass is the most water demanding grass. It requires at least 1½ inch per week. Again, this amount is not for having the lush green golf course style yard. Okay, this is just to maintain the green turf. That's acceptable for most of the homeowners. For the highly extensive, demanding homeowners, this may not quite translate. But I guess most of the audience here, they do not need the golf course style lawns in their yard. So if you do not have irrigations, like the 50% in our poll that said they do not have irrigations, then perennial ryegrass will not be the options for you. Okay, the perennial ryegrass is a very highly water demanding turf grass, and it will be a failure if you do not have irrigations. But with some kinds of irrigations, you can definitely grow Kentucky bluegrass. And then tall fescue is the most water efficient turf grass. It's drought tolerant, and it can be managed fairly well without irrigations in cool season group. And of course, in the warm seasons, if you do not have irrigations at all, then maybe a warm season like Georgia grass will be a way to go. And just to give you an estimate of how much of 1 inch of water is, in terms of gallons, then per acre, that will be 27,000 gallons. So if you have an acre of lawn, then you're putting down 27,000 gallons per week. Okay. Again, these are the estimates for the clay, so for the good soil, sandy loam soils. If you have a heavy soil, clay soil, a lot of clay, then it needs less water as there is not much drainage. If you have light sandy soils, then it needs more water or more frequently as well, because it cannot hold good water. So I would just like to conclude that with a report here. There was a survey done from K-State University, and they found that homeowners with in-ground timer-based sprinkler systems, they tend to use 47% more water than those who do not have those in-ground sprinkler systems. And the reason for that is pretty simple, that they schedule the sprinkler systems on the base of time, and there's nothing else, other factors consider. It runs like 2 times or 3 times a week, irrespective of the rain, irrespective of the weather conditions, irrespective of the grass species, and also the soil moistures on their yard. So if you really want to, like, it's to educate yourselves and also educate others, this is not only about cutting the utility bills. Of course, there's the irrigation on the lawns. Most of the time it's used from city water or community water. There's a utility part, but it's more than that. It's growing healthy turf, it's growing healthy yard, and also conserving water, saving water, and that will be the way to go for me. So we can do much better than what we are doing right now, and that's how I want to educate myself and also others.